An alien city located in Space Sector 2 is under attack as massive explosions cause mass panic and fear. The alien military has created a defensive line of tanks for the civilians to hide behind. Hold the line, men. I don't care how much firepower it packs, how many forms it can take, or how many cities it's destroyed. There's a whole army of us and only one of it. Just then, a soldier would make visual contact with the invader. They immediately opened fire on the attacker, but failed to penetrate the assailant's defensive form. Crying out Kaji Kai, this blue armored alien stood atop the carnage before shifting yet again and slamming into one of the tanks as they continued to shoot. The creature swiftly shifted into a hefty armored shell form, spinning forward and hitting the tanks head-on as they continued to open fire. After shifting to a bulkier form, it transitioned into a speed form and successfully sliced through the soldiers with a pair of arm blades. Then reverting to his original form, the alien would atomize another with an energy blast. Not long after that, the invader sat atop a pile of corpses while languishing over what he'd done to his homeworld, people, and family as a Beetle-like war machine marched over the ruins and two similar-looking ships flew through the air. To emerge from the machine was another alien in similar attire that commended the destroyer's work and asked for his name. Failing to recall his birth name, the man could only remember his Scarab name, Kaji Kai. That's the only name this person cared for as they'd welcome him to the Reach. After identifying themselves to be a command drone named Lou Kriza, they'd offer Kaji Kai a job since their last enforcer died during an insurrection. This planet is being cocooned by the Reach's hive masters, ready to save her. There's no saving it or Kai if he stays here, but the Reach always needs fresh new worlds. Even now, a clutch of Scarabs is arriving in the next galactic quadrant to create more soldiers just like you. And we follow one of those Scarabs, Kaji Da, as it drops to sunlight speeds, ready to get to work. It's come out somewhere around a gas giant that observant fans will recognize to be Jupiter. The little invader is on its way to Earth. But thanks to a warning from his ring, a patrolling Green Lantern managed to spot the Reach infiltrator. Commenting that the Green Lantern should have wiped out the Reach long ago, he blasts the blue parasite with emerald light as it recognized the lethal threat. The Lantern would scan for debris but find none. Believing it to have dropped into subspace, he issued a detection protocol that would inform any Green Lantern within 16 light-years to know its location. Eventually, the damaged Scarab made its way to Earth. It descended through the atmosphere like a shooting star, hitting the ground right outside an ancient Mesoamerican structure. The ancient humans then discovered the hissing technological marvel before them. We then cut to modern times at El Paso High School, the longest-serving high school in El Paso, Texas. 3 kids are standing in front of the goal. One of them, Jaime Reyes, quips about how embarrassing this moment is. Unfortunately for Jaime, his distraction leads to him getting the ball kicked right into his face, knocking him to the ground while the other team scored a goal. The celebrating jock starts talking about Brenda Del Vecchio's quinceañera. It's apparently going to be a big party with half the school invited. Not to mention Brenda's turning into a major hottie. How long you think before she's begging to meet little Joey? This leads to Brenda's friend Paco showing up, not willing to let them talk about her like that. Calling him Paco Taco, the lead jock makes it clear that he wasn't afraid of a dropout, that the only reason he wouldn't fight him one-on-one was because the gang Paco belonged to wouldn't fight fair. Paco is not worried though, claiming he'd be happy to fight the guy if he ever found the courage. Talking to Jaime, Paco would make fun of Joey the jock for being a blonde Puerto Rican. Jaime is surprised to see Paco here since he hates the school so much. And honestly, Paco's just here because of Brenda's party. And as Brenda explained with an envelope in her hand, she asked him to show up. Paco doesn't have a mailing address, so if he was going to get in, she needed to hand him an invite in person. According to Paco, she just wanted to see him, which Brenda scoffed at considering she still remembers him eating crayons in kindergarten. Jaime pointed out that Paco has been coming to Brenda's parties for a decade, so an invitation doesn't really seem necessary. Brenda explains that her aunt Amparo is hosting the party, and she's got security guards who won't let anyone in without an invitation. Jaime wondered why her rich aunt had so many security guards, but Brenda wasn't really sure. He thought it was weird that she never asked, but Brenda's dad always said it was rude to talk about money, especially her aunt's. Hours later, Jaime's parents were very against him going to the party. Mainly because it's Brenda's aunt's house. Jaime wondered if his mom had a fight with her or something, but his father insisted that no one's stupid enough to do something like that. Jaime would beg them since everyone was going, but it was no use. His mom felt bad, especially since she knows how he feels about Brenda, but they wouldn't let him anywhere near that woman's house. She would rather him hate her than risk his safety. Dissatisfied, Jaime would storm off and slam his door. Over in the Cardenas house, Brenda's aunt was informed that a superhuman beat her agents to the punch. The person calling said that her smuggler contacts were screaming, but she didn't care, noting that she sent these three for a reason. She got this package to El Paso, and she won't let these intruders swipe it out from under her nose. The group leader, Brutale, confirms they'll get her the bug within the hour. Going inside, we see the attackers are three members of classic villain team, the Brotherhood of Evil. The gooey monster Plasmus has melted a man's face and is working on a second. The teleporter Warp yelled at his group leader that they needed to get out of here. Phobia wasn't ready to leave just yet because they needed to be sure the device was real before leaving, so she's tormenting a warehouse worker. Phobia gives him a taste of her fear powers, threatening to put him through hell itself if he doesn't tell her where he hid the real Beetle. The terrified man swears that the one in the backpack is genuine, and that's enough for Phobia. But she is not merciful, instead handing the worker to Plasmus to dispose of. Phobia takes a second look at the blue Scarab the group fought so hard to get. Plasmus wasn't impressed. It's scuffed and covered with foam packing pellets. Phobia notes that their master, the Brain, had told her a bit about it. Apparently, it was found in a Mayan pyramid and has changed hands for decades. As Plasmus horrifically took the man's life, he'd add that their other comrade, Monsieur Malin, is convinced the Scarab is cursed, grumbling about the superstitious monkey. Before the Brotherhood can warp away, however, the outer wall of the warehouse explodes. Three new villains charge into the fray. Brutale takes the lead, a whole trail of knives following in his wake. Coyote is at his side as Bone Crusher swings in from above. Phobia tries to order Warp to teleport them out, but La Dama's mercenaries are too quick. The fight has already begun. Meanwhile, only a little way up the road, Paco and Jaime are heading to Brenda's party. Jaime's just in a t-shirt, while Paco's gone with a bright red shirt, shades, and a hat with a band. Jaime's nervous about their appearance, but Paco's confident and teases Jaime that he should borrow one of Brenda's dresses. The two are driving right past the warehouse where the supervillain battle is taking place. Charging out of the building was Warp, with the bag in hand as he threw open a portal to Paris. But Bone Crusher will not let him go that easily, as he kicked the supervillain right in the back. This forces Warp to fall on the hood of Paco's car and has him drop the bag in the back seat. Paco's confused, but Jaime insists that they have to go, now. But before they can, Coyote throws Plasmus at the car, the bulky villain almost tipping it upright. Paco screams about the damage to his vehicle, as just then, Bone Crusher jumped up and slammed Paco's head into the steering wheel, planning on killing the teen witnesses. Jaime quickly grabbed hold of the bag, trying to get the villain's attention off Paco. He jumped out of the car, valiantly taunting Bone Crusher to come get it before running away. The villain is all too happy to oblige, chasing Jaime down the alley behind the warehouse. Jaime curses under his breath as La Dama's mercenaries close in on him. He's gotten ahead of Bone Crusher, but Brutale's happy to immobilize him, throwing a set of knives right at the unfortunate kid. Jaime goes down, but the puncture caused a surge of electricity to crackle out of the backpack as he did. Jaime pulls himself back up, holding his head. Only then, finally noticing the sparking alien artifact as it burrowed into his back. Struggling in agony as it embedded itself into his body, Jaime began screaming in pain as his fingers erupted with blue energy. Injecting liquid metal into his spine, the tendrils of blue and black tore through his flesh and knit themselves all throughout his body. This haunting assimilation would see every orifice of his body secrete the same darkened sludge, until finally, the metamorphosis was complete, and Kaji Da was born. Jaime is not doing well. He hurts all over, and his vision's been replaced by a blue lit screen. He can see Bone Crusher and Brutale both lit up and with their vital organs highlighted. There's even a voice in his head talking about target selection and lethal options. What do you mean, lethal options? What? Shh, I'm not talking to you. The voice insists that Jaime should terminate his opponents. Jaime insists that he doesn't want to kill anyone, which confuses the two villains. Unsure of what's going on, Brutale ends up taking the lead, asking the new figure what happened to the kid with the red backpack. But given his new appearance, Jaime's too distracted to follow what he's saying. The Scarab explains that this is Jaime's protective carapace before ordering him to be silent and complicit. Jaime thinks he's going crazy, and since Brutale can't hear him, the villain brandishes a knife at the Beetle, asking who he's talking to. Jaime's confused that they can't hear the voice, but he's at a second to collect himself. Now he remembers just what happened before the whole thing with the Scarab. These guys attacked him and Paco. Jaime's hands shift into claws as he swiftly lashed out at the two villains, stabbing both right in the chest. The Scarab tries to get Jaime to finish the two rogues off, but he's not interested in giving into that. He just wants to find Paco. Unfortunately, he still has the Brotherhood in his way. Plasmus is struggling against Coyote, but that still leaves Phobia and Warp to deal with. The pair are surprised to see the Beetle, but assume he's one more mercenary sent by Ladama, something Coyote's in no position to correct them on. But Jaime doesn't pay any attention to them, and instead began yelling at Paco to wake up. His friend stirs, groggy but alive. Jaime wonders how he can get both of them out of there, and as soon as he said it, the Scarab enabled flight mode, emitting a pair of holographic wings from his back. Jaime is shocked by this sudden gift of flight, but immediately went over to the car to grab Paco. But now that his friend's awake, he is terrified of this strange blue monster. Jaime tries to reassure him, but before he can, a gigantic plasma hand grabs him from behind, asking where the kid with the backpack went. Jaime is sick of people talking about the backpack, driving Plasmus back with a hasty punch and jumping away. He doesn't even know what was in the thing. Phobia isn't buying his ignorance and plans to use his fear against him. But according to Jaime, who'd knock her back with a strong right hook, high school was enough of a nightmare as is. Paco, still scared, would bail on his car and yell that wherever he was, Jaime should keep running away from this mess. Unfortunately, Plasmus has gotten ahead of him, towering above Paco and threatening to melt his face unless he helps them find Jaime. Before Paco's forced to make any choice like that, Jaime swoops in, carrying his best friend out of there thanks to his new flight mode. Jaime grunts, telling Paco not to struggle. He's still in pain and not sure what he's doing. Unfortunately, Paco's still not managed to realize that the Beetle is his friend, and this stranger knowing his name just makes him freak out even more. Back at Casa Cardenas, Brenda's annoyed that Jaime hasn't shown up for her party, as just then, her aunt appears from behind to give her a quick hug. They catch up quick. Brenda's been enjoying the party, but is disappointed that Jaime and Paco never showed up. She's also surprised by her aunt's absence all afternoon. Amparo writes this off as her trying to get a rare item delivered, which Brenda scoffs at. And it looks like Amparo has a ton of strange and powerful artifacts in her possession. Brenda's okay to leave it there, but her aunt is not done, teasing her about how she should be looking for boys. Brenda protests that she's not interested in any boy she knows. Her aunt points to one in the crowd, the same blonde jock who'd squared off with Paco earlier. Brenda is disgusted at the idea, muttering something profane under her breath. That amuses her aunt, but before their conversation can continue, her security guards pull her aside. There's a situation at the front gates. The entire security detail is on high alert, guns in hand, scanning the area for threats and telling the kids to get inside. Brenda tries to calm her friends down, telling them to listen. Brenda's aunt wasn't happy with this display and would tell her men that if there's a problem out front, she'll handle it with them. Amparo tells her niece to wait inside before heading out to the front gate with her fists clenched. Paco and Jaime have finally arrived, and Paco has finally calmed down, trying to insist that they have to go back for Jaime. Jaime was still trying to concentrate, to the point where he couldn't explain what was going on just yet, but the sight of so many armed security men snapped him out of it. And the Scarab has a little extra information for him. There was a powerful, non-rational energy source inside the place. Jaime's not sure what to make of that, but the security goons fired off a warning shot at the Beetle, yelling at him to keep his distance. Jaime complies, touching down and trying to apologize. He tried to explain everything that happened, but as he rambled, the Scarab demanded that he be silent. Amparo demanded to know who the Beetle was, along with what he's done to her niece's friend. Jaime tries to reveal its identity, but the suit wasn't having it, and instead began to give him a painful headache to stop him from compromising the mission. As just then, the Scarab forced Jaime to projectile vomit all over Amparo's red heels. Oh my god. Tell me those weren't expensive. And that's enough for the security guards to open fire on the Blue Beetle. Jaime orders Paco and Amparo to get down before telling the Scarab to stop them. But this time, he insists on non-lethal force. The Scarab honors his request, firing a round of miniaturized bugs at the guards that seem to incapacitate them simply with their sting. Thankfully, they miss Brenda, who had followed her aunt out of the house. Jaime tried to apologize to Paco and Amparo, but Brenda intervened, yelling at him to stay away from her aunt. Jaime reluctantly accepted this, flying away and demanding answers from the Scarab, wondering why it wouldn't let him explain. Meanwhile, in Space Sector 2809, the Regis soldiers are getting bored. Commander Lou Kriza complains to Kaji Kai that this used to be fun, but now no planet can last more than a week against them. Kaji Kai points out that their superiors, the Hive Masters, wouldn't be happy with this sort of talk. But according to Lou Kriza, in 250 years, only the Green Lanterns have ever been a challenge to them. But interrupting them, a technician would report that Scarab Kaji Da, believed to have been destroyed hundreds of years ago, had just come online in Sector 2814. Kaji Kai immediately shoved the drone away. According to him, Scarabs either conquer or die. This had to be a mistake. Lou Kriza wasn't interested and suggested that they just send a repair pod to deal with it. But Kaji Kai wanted to check it out personally. The comm signal indicated that Kaji-da may have been damaged in a way they've never seen before. Seeing his subordinate so intrigued caught Lou Kriza's attention, and it sounded a lot more interesting than their usual work. Instead of sending Kaji Kai off alone, the commander decided to bring their entire ship to Earth while promising to bring the Hive Masters a new prize. For more blue alien shenanigans, check out the time Superman's Kryptonian powers turned him blue.